You guys are listening to the Masculinity Show, a podcast for introverts to become more masculine and get the body of an alpha male. And of course, get more mentally healthy and get that seducer's mindset, if you get me. And lastly, I help guys become more desirable and get the mindset of a seducer. Let's get into the podcast.
Masculine Mindset Show. It's Adam Skoda. So I have Mike with me from thecourageousman.com. And he was on my episode, Why Men Must Have a Dark Side. He was also on my episode, A Deep Dive into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And one more, I believe it is 5 gambits that drive women wild. What's up, Mike?
What's up, brother? Good to see you again, man.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. So today's topic is passing shit tests. All right, 7 ways to pass shit tests. So I wanted to ask you real quick, what is one of your hilarious rebuttals to passing shit tests?
Bro, there's a lot, man. Just depends what they give you, right? So I think one of my favorites is the agree and amplify. I don't know, for those of your listeners that may not know what that is basically when a girl says something to you, instead of getting emotional and kind of like upset about it, you just agree with it and you amplify it. You actually kind of exaggerate it more. So, like, for example, I'll be talking to a girl and then she'll say something kind of snooty like, "Oh, you must say that to all the girls, right?" I'm sure you've gotten that. And a lot of times guys are like, "Oh no, like, I don't say that to all the girls, just you." But instead of doing that, you would just agree with it. Like, "Oh, how did you know?" I said that to my grandma yesterday, and she was absolutely stoked. So you just kind of agree and you amplify it. So that's probably like one of my favorite ones.
Dude, I just remembered this brilliant line from the show called Californication. And this guy, Hank Moody, girl magnet, you guys. I've said this many times before, and it does work. So yeah, a really good way to pass this test here that Mike is talking about, this is what Hank said on one of the episodes. I said it, I meant it, I'm here to represent it. So that one is a good one. Steal from me, you guys, but honestly, I stole that from Californication. Right. And so I want to talk about overcoming rejection, because that, in my opinion, is basically very similar to shit tests. You know what I mean? And tell me if you agree here, Mike, but wouldn't you kind of like agree that rejection and shit tests, they're like practically the same thing?
In a way they can be. I mean, they could be a little bit different though. I mean, because it just depends what you mean by rejection too, right? Because like for me, sometimes rejection is not really a rejection. Maybe it's just a front, and then you just keep going at it. The girl's gonna kind of warm up to you and forget about it. So I don't know. Maybe you can explain to me what you mean by that. Maybe give me an example.
All right, so I had an episode called The Truth About Rejection. And on the outro of it, I told the story of how I was in this chick's apartment and I was literally in her bed, dude. Like it was funny, but not to toot my own horn here, but you know what? I'm going to just a little bit, because I'm going to talk about cocky, funny rebuttals a little bit. But either way, she said, "You're not my usual type." And then after that, I literally just didn't even acknowledge what she just said. Like I just was like, take away attention, and I was looking away, and then I kind of like let her walk over to me,
Hmm.
and after that, we just started making out and we had sex. So that is the story that was on my mind for this podcast that I wanted to say, and it was just like wow, I literally overcame rejection in her apartment, and
Right.
that's how that happened. So let me know.
Gotcha. So that makes sense. So you're saying the rejection there was her saying, "Oh, you're not my type.
Yeah,
Like you're kind of not my type." Yeah, that makes sense. If it's that type of rejection, yeah. Because I just think there's so many different types of rejections. Like if you're going up to some, random girl at the bar and you're trying to talk to her and she kind of just gives you the cold shoulder or she walks off. That's not necessarily a shit test, but I mean it could be. But yeah, I would say um shit tests are a form of rejection, but not all rejections or a form of shit tests if you get what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah. I
Like
know.
all shit tests can be a form of rejection though, right? Because like if they're saying, oh, like you're not my type, or oh, I'm not gonna, and actually that makes me think of a story about this girl I was dating, and we were having a good time, I think it was first or second date, but we were playing darts and things were getting fun, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's like, "Hey, like I'm not going home with you tonight, right?" She said that to me. She's like, "I'm not going home with you tonight, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." I actually I did a agree and amplify. Actually, more of like agree and just kind of use humor. I was like, "Yeah, of course." I was gonna go home and sleep by myself in the fetal position on my bed, like always. She like laughed about it, but later on that night, we ended up going to a different bar, and it was getting late. So I told her, I was like, "Hey, so I'm about to head. I'm getting tired." I was like, are you coming with me or not?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm coming with you." And she ended up coming back to my place that night. And
See, you just
obviously,
overcame rejection, dude. It's kind
yeah,
of,
obviously, what happened that night. But
yeah,
yeah, it was funny because, yeah, I guess that shit test that she gave me was a form of rejection, but it really wasn't because, if you follow what we're talking about on this podcast, you're going to be able to overcome a lot of these shit tests that these girls give you. So,
yeah. You guys, I actually got a tattoo that says "Conquer Your Fears" on my upper back, and honestly, that's gonna. All right, Mike and I both know Brett Backerman, right? Because
mhm.
he's in the same community. I actually did a podcast with him called "Conquer Your Fears Fast," and so something comes to mind that I just wanted to mention is if you are afraid of shit tests, you should really conquer your fears and just face it. And that's a lot of my podcasts are very advanced. Like, I mean, Mike already knows this, right? Because he heard the new intro of my podcast, and I would love for basically him to imitate my new intro, right? But
Maybe,
obviously,
maybe I'll take you up on that challenge one day, man. I'll give you the sexy Mike voice.
yeah. Anyhow, so about conquer your fears, guys. Check this out. The more you get tested, the more you are immune to their tests. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because as I'm going to point something out to all of you, Mike is a BJJ Black Belt. Okay? And I'm sure, as you probably can attest to, because you are a BJJ Black Belt, girls don't test you a lot, do they?
Not really, honestly. And
Yeah.
if they do, I mean, like I said, I mean, we all know the ways to overcome these tests, but
Yep.
you don't get tested a lot, and partially maybe some of it has to do with BJJ, but I think just overall over time, I've just learned emotional control. I think that's a huge, very, very important in terms of passing shit tests too, is that you have very good emotional control because you know, some guys get upset and butthurt over these things that girls say to them, and it's like chill, relax, bro. You just, you know, just got to be grounded.
Yep. Yep. Grounded. That's wow. That's something that I kind of forgot about, but I do talk about being grounded. I think it was in one of my episodes. Was it 77 Ways to Develop a Masculine Mindset? It's released. That's what it's called. I'll put that book in the show notes, you guys. You can grab it if you want. But anyways, the point that I really want to get across here, you guys, is right. Dude, I had a massive brain fart. You know what? Fuck it. Let's keep going. All right. I want to talk about cocky ways to pass tests. Cocky ways to pass tests. Because I told Mike in the chat that I want to cover cocky ways to pass tests. So when she's like, "Oh, Adam, what's with your cocky eye contact?" Because I've heard girls say that.
Mm.
And what I often say is I'll just be like, "Look, I know you want me right now. Come on, admit it. I know you want me right now." And that would be, guys, that would be a really good way to basically overcome that test. Again, very similar to rejection, but as I said, come on, I know you want me right now. Or like, gosh, you want me so bad. Right? That's a good way to pass that test. So go ahead. Let me know if you have a good way to pass a test in a cocky way.
Not like that. Honestly, man, I'm not gonna lie, cocky is not really my thing. I'm not like a I'm more of like a humor guy. I like to use humor to pass tests. But being cocky, I don't know. That's just not me. But I mean, I could be cocky, you know, like shoot me with something. Maybe shoot me with like a shit test. Maybe I'll see if I can pass it. Maybe we'll do this live, right?
Why do you go to BJJ so much, Mike?
Where was that?
Why do you go to BJJ so much?
Why do I go to BJJ so much? Well, the real question is, why don't you go to BJJ? All the cool people do BJJ. You know, only people that don't do BJJ. If you were as hard as me, you would be doing BJJ, brother.
That's good, you guys. Now, I did tell Mike before the podcast that I did go on a little hiatus of BJJ because I'm launching my fitness program. Okay, so that's why Mike is saying that right now, I'm sure. But anyways, I'm gonna go back the minute I'm done. Anyways, the whole point to what Mike just did is he did reframing. All right, reframing is you just take what she says and you just say the real question is, and then come up with something out of like, doesn't matter what you say. Like, it doesn't matter what you fucking say, you guys. It just doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah. This is how you say it, man.
Yeah. It's how you say it.
Confidence behind it.
In fact, dude, you did sound a little cocky there.
I know, that's why I meant to add a little bit of cockiness there. I usually wouldn't be like that, honestly. You know, for me, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, if you're as strong as me," but hey, you wanted some cocky, I threw in some cocky there, man.
There you go. That's awesome. All right. So we talked about cocky ways to pass tests, and we covered how rejection is very similar to tests, right? And am I missing something? Like there's a few others, right?
Yeah, I mean, what was this 7 ways to pass shit test, right? I mean, so we had, you know, reversals, we had reframing.
Yep.
You know, I like it calling it flipping the script.
You can say the better question is also as well.
Yeah, the better question is, did you talk about there's a misinterpreting?
Yes. Playful misinterpretation. Yep, that's really good.
It's a really good one.
So how I would do this one here, you guys, is anytime a girl basically tests me on how I lift a lot, I'll say, "Well, do you want to lift with me?" That's what I would kind of imply. So yeah, with Mike there about BJJ, he could say that too, right?
Right.
So why you go to BJJ so much, right? And if a girl says that to Mike, he could say, well, do you want to do BJJ with me or something like that? But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the misinterpretations that I like to use, because girls like to use this line a lot, where they say, "Oh, you're just a player, aren't you? You're just a player," you know?
Oh, I have the perfect response to that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Go ahead. I want to hear
Well,
your.
no, I'm always just like, yeah, I'm like, damn, how'd you know? You know, I played high school. I played football in high school, you know, and I was a VIP #1 in the varsity, scored 4 touchdowns in one game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
I have my response to this one on my article in the show notes called "How to Flirt with Women Using Push Pull," and what I will say to them when they come and play is I'm like, get the terminology right, chick. It's actually premium man whore. Premium. So that was 5, I think. We have 2 more, dude.
We did agree and amplify humor. Just general humor I like to use, you know, if the girl's like, you know, maybe she says something along the lines like, "Oh, like why are you talking to me?" You know, or something like that. You could just be like, "Well," she say something funny or kind of outlandish. She was like, "Well, you know, I thought I'd take my shot before you got famous and stuff, before you got Instagram famous." You know, just something kind of cheeky and funny. Doesn't have to be anything like that, but I think as you keep your cool, you know, I think it'll help.
Yeah, it's really, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I have some pretty aggressive podcasts, so just take note on that. I'm a bit crazy. One podcast comes to mind where I go overboard is skyrocket productivity instantly. I want to be clear, you do not want to act like that in front of girls, but
Yeah.
I mean, some chicks do like that extreme nature, so some might like it. But I will say you have to really watch that because controlling that aggression that you have. We both talked about this, right? It was Why Men Must Have a Dark Side podcast. So, anyhow, I'm having girls text me right now. Just give me a second. All right.
Yeah, getting shit tested right now, huh?
Yeah, getting shit tested right now live on my podcast. All right. So, anyways,
There's ignoring. We
yeah,
talk
talk about that one.
You just kind of ignore what they say. Did you talk about that?
Yeah, I
They
think
say something, and you just change the subject. You completely change the subject on them.
the test I got where she said you're not my usual type, but then she walked into her bed and we ended up having sex. So that one, again, that was a rare case, you guys, where we had we already had a thing for each other. But I will say, you're not my usual type. That is a test, you guys.
Yeah.
That is a test. So you shouldn't treat it like as, oh hey, that's it. Like, I don't see any chance. No, she's seeing if you're gonna play fetch.
Right.
And if you play fetch, then she's basically going to filter you out as a beta. But however, if you, again, kind of take away attention like what I did, guys, takeaways are a huge part of my game. I do takeaways a lot. But what I did on that story is I remember I was in her apartment. I just took away eye contact. I looked off into the distance. And then I just waved my finger and I said, come here. And then she came into her bed and we just ended up kissing. And that's kind of how it happened. But anyhow, yeah, so we talked about, I think that was about 7. Let's over deliver. I want to talk about how testing can get into escalation. So have you ever had this happen, dude? Girls will test you when you're in the seduction process. Literally, in the seduction process, they will test you. Have you ever had this happen?
Yeah, I mean they I want to know. I don't know if it's the same thing as like the last minute resistance. I know a lot of the pickup community kind of uses that term, that last minute resistance, where you're on a date, things are going well, you're making out, and all of a sudden she kind of like stops you and she's like, hey, like maybe we shouldn't do this or something like that. Is that the type of test, or is it something different? Because I've had girls try to stop me while I'm, progressing things forward, sexually at least.
She obviously knew about my blog, and she would just say, Adam, your articles are mean. Like you're mean. And and I'll say, but you like that, don't you? And she started like smiling, and her face would turn red. And she liked it, dude. Like it was great. Again, you guys, my experience with the girls is I can see their dark side manifest, right? Because girls have a dark side, you guys. Everyone has a dark side. Listen to our podcast. Why men must have a dark side. And then after that, when basically she would say, you're being mean, and then I would say, but you like that, don't you? And then leading up to us making out, here's what I would do: I would walk her up against the wall, and I'd look down to her lips, and I'd say, come on, you know that you like me just being a little mean. Because it's hot, like it shows intent, and it shows that you're willing to go there.
Yeah.
So
that works well. That works very well. Especially if you give them that eye contact, like that deep gaze into their eyes while you say it. And maybe even whisper a little bit into their ear. Yeah, I've done that. Like girls get wild for that.
Yeah, so I want you guys to remember that testing can even happen in escalation. And I think in that, again, I have an episode called Turning Shit Tests into Sexually Charged Conversations, and that was the story I told. What basically I said when they would comment like you're mean, I would often say, you have no idea what you're up against. All right. So again, playing hard to get sexually is powerful. It really is. And that was, gosh, I'm working in so many episodes of my podcast library, but again, it's just How to Be a Sexy Challenge is another one to check out. All right. But yeah, I think, dude, we way over delivered. Holy shit.
I did want to bring one more. I'm going to over deliver even again, because I think this kind of goes hand in hand with this podcast. But I don't know. We haven't talked about girls asking for favors. I kind of see that as like a shit test almost. When girls kind of ask you for favors at the club, they kind of want to see how you're going to react to them. Like if you just kind of give in and you're like you behave like a simp and you kind of just go along with it, or how do you handle it? So when a girl, even like the smallest thing. So if you're at the club and you're drinking, and the girl's like, hey, can you go over there and grab me a napkin? It's called the hoop theory, where if a girl's going to ask you for a favor, you need to make sure she does a favor for you first.
Yep.
So I think that's a good, because in my head, these are also shit tests, and these are a lot of shit tests that guys will run into a lot. So I did want to mention this on this podcast before we did leave. So for example, that's one of my favorite things. But if a girl asks you for something, you want to ask her for a favor first. So, but something silly or something playful. So if she's like, hey, can you give me a napkin? Then you hit her back with, yeah, sure, but can you ask me in an Australian accent, or can you ask me in a British accent, and I'll get you one. So basically you're fortifying to her that your favor must be earned. And that's a way to pass that shit test, and it makes you look more masculine and more kind of grounded, and you're not just someone that can be walked over.
Yeah, you guys, this is where I'm known to be an asshole. I'm just going to point that out to you, okay? So all the listeners listening, you guys, I have been called an asshole because I've done this. But when they ask me a favor, I would just look at her with like a very relaxed look in my eyes, and I'll just say no, and that's it. I just say no. I just straight up say no, and they'll just keep persisting, and then they'll be like, why? And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, see that guy over there? He looks like he would do it for you. Ask him.
Yeah. No, I mean, no's better than saying yes, obviously, right off the bat. But I feel like snow you might, and honestly, it's not a big deal because, if you don't give a fuck, you don't give a fuck, right? Regardless. But I know some girls may get offended by that or whatever. Maybe look like an asshole, but hey, that's your thing, bro.
Yeah.
You're the asshole, man, but you make it work.
I take these labels and I make it
Yeah.
crazy, dude. Just like
You make it work, man.
Yeah. All right.
That's the beauty about the game, man. You can have your own style, you can have your own, the way you do things, but just follow the blueprints, follow the concepts, and you'll do well.
Yeah, I would say self-amusement is a lot of my game, dude. A lot of my game. I'll just be playfully self-amused, but in a way, kind of like a dick. So, I had this funny comment that I said on my episode 10 Reasons Why Women Are Attracted to Polarizing Assholes, and I basically call myself a playful dick. So, it's just kind of how I play the game. And there it is, you guys. That is 7 tests. 7 hilarious ways to pass tests. So I'm going to put Mike's website in the show notes along with my book. Go ahead and grab it and also look at Mike's website. He owns a website, you guys, called The Courageous Man. And again, guys, we talked about the cube on that 5 Gambits podcast. He has the full gambit on his website. I saw that article, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite gambits to do. Definitely check it out, guys. I got a bunch of gambits on there. So,
all right, peace out, you guys. Please leave me a 5-star review. All right, you guys, guess what? Before I forget, I was like, yo, Adam, you're not going to tell me who dating coach that you connected with? Guys, I did not forget. I just had to throw in that little trick there to basically make sure that you're still paying attention, because you guys, a lot of you fucking procrastinate. Now listen to me. Guys, stop the procrastination and look in the show notes again. Look in the show notes, you'll see Alpha Body Blueprint, okay? I state very clearly, sign up for the waitlist of Alpha Body Blueprint. The link is below that. Now, again, I'm going to tell you now, as a dating coach that I got in contact with, right? Because I told you guys this last week on the Dark Reformed Rake visualization. That is, you guys, I've connected with Trip Kramer of How to Talk to Girls. Yes, you guys, true story. And I'm going to tell you guys something. All right, this is not out yet. Okay, this is not out yet, but I want to prepare you. Okay, I want to prepare you. That is, I have you go through like a week of exercises to do to prepare for Alpha Body Blueprint. And back to the point of what I was saying about me connecting with Trip Kramer. You guys, he's going to feature my program on his website. I'm not kidding you, okay? I'm not fucking kidding. So, get in on the action, you guys, because Trip is a legend, okay? And go subscribe to How to Talk to Girls podcast, because Trip is a legend. All right, peace out, you guys. I love you. And remember this, you guys. Just remember this, okay? Fitness is the gateway to discipline, all right? Guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. Take care of your body, and your body will take care of you. Never fucking forget that.